Hello, my name is Helen and I'm an English language teacher in the UK. I was also a nurse for over 30 years and I'd like to use my knowledge and skills to help you to pass OET. In this lesson, we're going to be looking at how to plan and write the main body of your letter for the writing subtest. I'll be showing you how to select the relevant material, how to put it into a logical order and create a high-scoring letter. Don't forget to like and comment below, and please click the subscribe button to follow my channel. This lesson will show you how to plan and write the main body of the letter, the part that needs to be about 180 to 200 words. When you plan a clear letter in a logical order, stick to the relevant facts with no irrelevant information, and you use neat joining words and correct grammar, the main body of your letter will naturally be about 180 to 200 words. But if your letter is slightly over or slightly under, don't panic. You don't need to go through and start looking for a few words to add or chop. Seriously, the examiners will not be counting the words. They don't have time. Just by reading your letter, they can see whether it is far too long or much too short. So in the writing test, you'll be given a set of patient notes. You'll have 5 minutes to read only and a further 40 minutes to plan and write your answer. I'm going to stress to you right now, the most important part, the planning. The notes we're going to be using today are for a writing test for nurses, but you can use the same process to plan and write a letter for any of the other professions. Always look down here at the end first, which is where you'll find the task. It tells you who you need to write to and why. In this case, you'll be writing a referral letter to a district nurse, a nurse who works in the community. But the purpose of your letter is much more than just a referral. You'll need to make the purpose of your letter apparent early on, as it's one of the marking criteria. So read the notes carefully to check why you're referring this particular patient to the district nurse. Now look up here at the beginning. Here you'll find what your role is for this task and also what the healthcare setting is, for example, a hospital, clinic or community setting. In this case, you're a ward nurse on the surgical unit, but sometimes you get an instant promotion to charge nurse. Read the notes through for the first time from beginning to end. This will help you to understand and interpret the notes correctly. Check any abbreviations used and the tenses. Is it something in the past or a current problem? Read through again for a second time, and as you read, put yourself in the place of the recipient. What does a district nurse need to know? Or imagine that this nurse comes to see you in person. A letter is a formal written handover, so you need to give them the same information as if they were standing in front of you. You'd give different information to a physiotherapist or a social worker, for example. Your clinical knowledge might help you to select the appropriate information for the recipient, but it isn't a clinical exam, it's a test of your English. So stick to the facts presented in the notes and don't make things up to make it sound more clinically interesting. Now I'm going to go through the notes and highlight in green information which I think is relevant to the district nurse. Any that I'm not quite sure about at this stage, I'm going to highlight in grey. This is called selecting the case notes. Before we move on, take some time to look at the information I've highlighted. Pause the video if you need to, because next up I'm going to be pointing out the links between different boxes to help work out where they will go in my letter. Lots of my OET students want to write the letter in the same order as the notes, but that isn't what you're being asked to do. You need to be able to link together information that is related, so that you don't repeat yourself, and so that your letter has a clear, logical order. I also need to make sure that you understand you should not be using any templates to write your letters. Every scenario is different, a different clinical situation with a different recipient, and this means that your letters must be different. Don't try to always put certain sections from the notes in the same order in your letter, because it shows the examiner that you haven't understood the task. Now I'm going to organise the notes into a logical order. The first two items are easy. My patient's name and age or date of birth will go in the re section of my letter, so that the recipient knows who the letter is about. Next, I'm going to be thinking about the first paragraph. This is where I will introduce my patient and give a clear indication of why I'm writing. I need to tell the district nurse when the lady is being discharged home, but the admission date is not really relevant unless she has been in hospital for an unusually long time. Here's her diagnosis. She was admitted with gallstones. She's had an open cholecystectomy, removal of the gallbladder under general anaesthetic. You might realise that in real life she would have clips or sutures or something, but if it's not mentioned, don't add it. Remember, this is an English exam, not a test of your clinical knowledge. Okay, why are we referring this particular surgical patient? It's right here, because she has a wound infection and needs wound dressings. I'm not going to put all of this in my first paragraph, but I will make some mention of it. In paragraph 2, I want to go into more detail about the wound infection, because that is the main reason for referral. The medication section tells us that she has been prescribed an antibiotic, which must be taken for a further 5 days. And down here in the discharge plan, there is a clear link between the wound dressing and the antibiotic. Also related to her recent surgery, she's got continuing post-op pain and is taking Oromorph. That's listed up here in her medication section too. The discharge plan tells me that I need to ask the district nurse to monitor her ongoing pain. In the next paragraph, I'm going to talk about the other problems that this lady has, particularly her mobility. Here under nursing management, it says that she has had ongoing mobility issues since 2014 and walks with a stick. The medical history tells us that she had a knee replacement around that time. And so we're asking the district nurse to monitor her mobility as well as her pain. I want to tell the nurse about any existing conditions that affects my patient's overall health. Her medical history identifies that she had an MI in 2017 and was diagnosed asthmatic in 2012. In the medication section, I can see the drugs that she takes for these two conditions, so I'll link this information together in paragraph 4. Finally, I'm going to let the nurse know that we will be following up this lady in outpatients. This is the section I call the shutdown, when we bring the letter to a close. So that just leaves this piece of information about her high BMI and dietary advice. Is it relevant? Yes, I think so, because we're asking the nurse to refer her back to the dietitian if necessary. When you get a piece of information left over like this, it's tempting to start another paragraph. But actually, if you look back at the paragraphs you have created already, you can almost always find one where it fits best. I think it fits best with this information about her mobility problems, so I'm going to add it to paragraph 3. And here's what the notes look like once I've finished my planning. I need to tell you that you can write on the notes during the test. Not during the first 5 minutes, of course, because that is for reading only. But after that, you can underline words, put boxes around information, and number it to help you write a high-scoring letter. Another quick tip. It is acceptable to use common medical abbreviations if you are writing to a healthcare professional who would understand them. But make sure that they are appropriate for your particular recipient, and don't overdo it. A letter full of abbreviations is hard to understand. You can learn more about how to set out the letter in another of my videos. For example, where the address and date should go, whether to write yours sincerely or yours faithfully at the end. In this lesson, we're concentrating on the main body of the letter, so I'm just going to quickly put the re section into our letter and we'll move straight on to the main part. By the way, re is an accepted shortened form of the word regarding. You don't need to write it out in full. Here are the 4 items I identified that I wanted to put in my first paragraph. There are lots of ways you could start your letter depending on different circumstances. For now, I'm going to show you a simple way to start a referral letter. I'm going to link the 4 pieces of information together to introduce my patient and explain why I am writing. This is called the purpose of the letter, and I need to make this apparent to the reader early on. The recipient should not have to read all the way to the end before finding out the whole point of the letter, which is why it is one of the marking criteria for the writing task. I am writing to refer Jane Mallow, who is due to be discharged on the 11th of February. Mrs. Mallow has developed a wound infection following open cholecystectomy for gallstones and will need daily dressings and further monitoring. I've used the present perfect tense, has developed, to indicate something that started in the past, the wound infection, but has an effect on the present. Her wound is still infected and needs treatment. See also how I've used the word following to show that the wound infection started after the surgery. The surgery happened first and then the wound infection, but by turning the sentence around, the emphasis is on the wound infection rather than the surgery. Let's take a look at paragraph 2. Here are the 6 pieces of information I highlighted. In the first paragraph, I mentioned the wound infection as the main reason for writing, so now the reader is expecting me to give more detail. Sometimes information is repeated in different sections using slightly different words. For example, the nursing management and the discharge plan both mention the wound dressing. It doesn't mean you need to write about it twice, and this shows precisely why the planning stage is so important, because it's easier to see repeated information that needs to be combined. I have also decided to talk about Mrs. Mallow's pain here, because it is related to the surgery and the wound. This is how I've combined the information about the wound infection and her pain. A wound swab on 10th of February showed Staphylococcus aureus infection. Mrs. Mallow was therefore commenced on amoxicillin 500 mg TDS to be continued for a further 5 days. We would be grateful if you would review the dressing regime on completion of her antibiotic course. Additionally, please could you monitor her ongoing pain, for which she is taking Oromorph 5 to 10 mg PRN. The word therefore is used when you have just talked about something that has happened, in this case a positive Staph aureus swab, and as a direct result of that, something else has happened or needs to happen. In this case, she was started on an antibiotic. There are lots of ways of politely asking the recipient to complete a task, such as a medicine review, home visit, or as in this case, a review of her dressing regime. I have used the phrase, if you would, to politely suggest that this review happens without using the words, you must. Additionally, it's a linking word that you can use to make another request straight away or to add an extra problem, such as this one about her pain. And look how I have used the phrase for which. It relates to Mrs. Mallow's ongoing pain and shows that the Oromorph is what she is taking for the pain. Note that I have used these 2 common abbreviations when talking about her medication, but only because I'm writing to a qualified nurse who would understand them. On we go to paragraph 3. These are the 3 pieces of information I highlighted for my 3rd paragraph. And there was one extra one that I wasn't sure whether to put in or not, so we'll see if it fits. There are 2 different problems here, poor mobility and very high BMI, but the reality is that they're probably related. I'm going to write one sentence about each problem. Here's what I've written. Mrs. Mallow has poor mobility due to a previous knee replacement, which has slowed her post-op progress, and she may need further support. She has been advised about diet to help maintain a healthy BMI, currently 38, and could be referred back to the dietitian for further advice if necessary. The first sentence links together the information about continuing mobility issues since 2014 and her slow progress post-op. The second sentence links together all of that information about her BMI, the dietary advice she has already received, and the possibility of referring her back to the dietitian for more help. The first time you need to refer to your patient in each paragraph, Write their name, for example, Mrs. Mallow. For a child or young person under 18, you can just say their first name. After that, refer to them as he or she, or his or her. In a formal letter, this should happen in each paragraph. I have also used this extra abbreviation, which I would expect a nurse to know. In paragraph 4, I want to mention anything else which is affecting Mrs. Mallow's overall health, and I picked out her MI in 2017 and diagnosis of asthma in 2012. I'm going to link that to the drugs that she takes for those conditions. This is how I've linked the information together. Mrs. Mallow's past medical history includes myocardial infarction in 2017 and asthma diagnosed in 2012. Her usual medication is aspirin, isosorbide mononitrate, Ventolin and betamethasone inhalers. The word usual tells the district nurse that she was taking these drugs before she came into hospital and is familiar with them, so including the dose is less important. The final paragraph is what I call the shutdown, bringing the letter to a close. Here's the information that I want to put into the last part of my letter, and I'm going to add a standard closing statement which you can use for any letter. Finally, a follow-up appointment has been made in surgical outpatients on 15th of March. If you have any further queries, please do not hesitate to contact me. The word finally tells the reader that this is the last thing you want to tell them, so don't use it anywhere else in your letter or it won't make sense. You can also finish by saying, if you have any questions, please contact me, or if you have any concerns. They'd all be fine for the last sentence. So our completed letter looks like this, and as if by magic, it comes neatly within the word count. But it's not magic. As I said at the beginning, the main body of your letter will naturally come out around 180 to 200 words, maybe slightly over, maybe slightly under, if you write a clear, well-sequenced letter, which includes all the relevant information and nothing that is irrelevant. If you are regularly writing more than, say, 220 words, it means that you are either writing long sentences with too many words, or you are including information that shouldn't be in the letter. Likewise, if you are regularly writing letters that are less than 160 words, it means that you are missing out important information. Here's my website if you want to find out more about me, check out what I do, or you want to contact me about having one-to-one lessons. If you found this lesson helpful, don't forget to like and comment below the video. And if you'd like to follow my channel, hit the subscribe button.